Alrighty, so I'd like to welcome everyone to this LinkedIn workshop run by the wonderful Jen. She's our student representative support officer and very knowledgeable in this area in all things marketing. And I guess LinkedIn is kind of marketing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, so take it away, Jen.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm super keen to be here. I've run this workshop a couple of other times, and I always learn something new from the audience. So if anyone has anything they want to add to this at any point, please chime in. I want this to be a little group activity so that we can all learn from it. I'm going to be taking you through the basics first of a profile. I know some of you have already got this covered, but I'm going to go through that since we are recording it, if there's people who want to go back and refer to this, if they're new to LinkedIn. So bear with me as I go through all the steps, just in case our friends are watching the recording. Before I get into LinkedIn specifics, a bit about me. As Jess said, I'm the Student Representative Support Officer. I am a Newcastle grad. Last year, I did my MBA and my Master of Marketing. And before that, I'm originally from Iowa in the States, and I did a Bachelor of Business there in marketing, and I did a leadership certificate. Of course, in America, LinkedIn is king, and that's where I got my start with LinkedIn. I've had my profile for about almost 10 years. So I'm really into it, I guess, which is fun, nerdy fact about me. But LinkedIn's always changing. So back when I first had my profile, it was a lot different than it is now. They're always adding new features and new cool things. So LinkedIn's a complete work in progress to me. And that's how I think that everyone should look at it. It's always changing, and so are you. So it's never going to be completely done as far as your profile. But anyway, I just wanted to start off with that so you know who I am. And here's what we'll be covering today. What's LinkedIn? Why should I have one? What are the benefits? A few statistics that you might know or you might be surprised about. Some components of LinkedIn profile. I know it looks like there are quite a lot, but LinkedIn is really user-friendly. So when you are creating a profile, if you haven't already, it's really intuitive in how it takes you through all the steps so that you aren't overwhelmed. So this might look like a lot, but it's really not when you get into it. And then over on the right side, I'll take you through visibility settings, how to make connections, a bit about your LinkedIn feed, careers, job searching, LinkedIn Learning, which is a really sick feature that's available for Uni Newcastle students and staff. LinkedIn security, which can be super important, so I didn't want to leave that out. And then there will be time for questions if anyone has any. And again, these are just some parts of LinkedIn, so this isn't an exhaustive workshop at all, but it's a good place to start. So what is LinkedIn? If you don't know, it's the world's largest professional network. That's pretty cool. It's pretty much everywhere in the world, with the exception of a few places, but I'll show you later. You can use LinkedIn for a lot of different things. It's not just a digital resume or CV, although it may have began like that. It's also a job searching tool. It's a way to collaborate with people in different industries and make connections and network. It's also a place now that you can learn skills and advance yourself in your career. And completing a LinkedIn profile, even if you're not active on LinkedIn, is still really beneficial, because through that you're findable to recruiters or companies that are looking to hire people. So I advise everyone to even have a super basic profile at the very least. And if you want to leave it at that, you can. If you want to go the other end of the spectrum and flesh it out and be super active on it, I also think that's great if you have time for it. So basically what I'm trying to say is LinkedIn is for everyone. You can use LinkedIn to organize events even, you can join groups, you can write articles, you can share photos and videos and more. So it's sort of like Facebook or Instagram, but with a professional twist. There's tons of benefits to LinkedIn, as you all would maybe know, because I know Keely, you use LinkedIn quite a lot. You can showcase your personal brand, your experience, accomplishments, publications, especially if you're an HDR student, that's something that's really good for you guys to know about. You can keep in touch with industry contacts. So that's something really important that I think some people forget about is you can have people's email addresses, which is great for keeping in touch. But if it's someone's work email and they get a new job, then you're not going to be able to email them. So I think LinkedIn is a great way to keep in touch with people that way, because no matter where they move to across the world or get a different job, you'll still be able to keep in contact with them. And you can also follow tons of different companies and organizations, industry leaders, and follow topics via hashtags, which is also really cool. I like to scroll LinkedIn instead of Facebook or Instagram because quite often I learn something that I didn't know or find something interesting I want to share with people. So if I'm going to scroll, it might as well be LinkedIn. So some statistics, LinkedIn is pretty old, actually. It's older than Facebook by a year. There's LinkedIn in 24 languages in over 200 countries. So wherever you go, chances are LinkedIn is going to be a thing. So another reason to build a profile. 76% of LinkedIn users are outside of the USA. So it's important for people in Australia as well. It's really popular here. Over half of LinkedIn users are between 25 and 34. And 40 million people job search on LinkedIn every week. It's a really good place to look in addition to Seek or getting in touch with recruiters, because you might find jobs that might not be on Seek. A lot of times they're on both, but just a good thing to check. And adding an image to your LinkedIn post will double your engagement. That's a fun fact. And there are 55 million companies on LinkedIn. So if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Here is a little handy map that I found about the members of LinkedIn, which is pretty cool. We've got 11 million in Australia down there, 2 million in New Zealand for our Kiwis. Yay. So it's not just for English-speaking countries, it's all over. I'm building a LinkedIn profile, so let's get into it. As I said before, LinkedIn's always changing with new features and new layouts and stuff. So once I thought I had it down, it changed. And I even had to update this presentation since running this workshop a year ago. So that's how quickly it changes. I like to think of LinkedIn as kind of like building a little house. So one day you might come in and do your profile picture. Another day you might write your bio. You can do this little by little. I think that's the best way. Instead, you could do it all at once if you want to, but if you have enough time. But I'm always reviewing my own profile and thinking of ways that I can make it better. After seeing other people's as well, you get ideas. So the important thing to keep in mind, though, is LinkedIn will take you through all of the different steps and give you little tips on how to reach all-star status, which is when your profile is all filled in. And the same applies to building your network of connections. So that's not something you do overnight. A good place to start is your lectures, maybe your supervisor at work, any mentors that you might have, or people that you know in your community, and fellow students as well. Because if you're a student now, you'll be graduated one day and be a professional. So it's still really great to add fellow students and see what other people are doing and help celebrate everyone's success. And you just might learn something from them too. So here's a little snapshot of the top of your profile when you have a LinkedIn account. So you've got your name, of course, and then right next to that, you can put your pronouns in. This is optional, but it's a new feature that they just unveiled. So I recommend doing that if you'd like. And then underneath there, you've got your headline. So you don't have to put just what job you're in currently or what you're studying. Some people get creative with this. They might say writer, published author, or they might say marketer or scientist, whatever. And your location is there. Oh, we've got someone joining us. They're coming in, I'm sure. And then on the right-hand side, you've got your organization and your university. And then below that, we've got the dashboard. Hi, Charlie. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions, please let me know. You haven't missed much. Oh, there's a chat. Thanks, sounds good. So we're just going over the basics of a profile. And then, so when you, sorry, where was I? On your profile, when you open it up, you'll also be able to see your dashboard, which no one else can see. You can see how many people have viewed your profile, how many people viewed any posts if you've made a post, and how often you showed up in search appearances from other users on LinkedIn. And then on the right-hand side, it says the profile status, which if you haven't filled in all of the fields on LinkedIn, it will prompt you to do that. And it's really easy. Or if you have filled them all in, then it'll say All-Star. And then you can also, one thing I want to highlight here is you can save items on LinkedIn. If you're scrolling through and you find something interesting or funny that you want to save for later, that's where you find it there. I use that a lot. Alrighty. So we've covered the first couple of things here, but there are a lot more sections in your profile that you can fill out. You don't have to fill out every single one, but it is better if you do, I think, if you've got time. So you've also got your about summary. I'll show you some examples of that. Some featured posts if you have them and you choose to do that. It's kind of like a highlight on Instagram. I'll show you those in a little bit. We've got your activity. If you're active on LinkedIn, leaving comments on people's stuff, or if you're posting, it'll show up there. Then you've got your experience, education, licenses and certifications, volunteer experience, skills, recommendations, accomplishments, and interests. So I'll take you through these. If you have any questions, please do stop me. So I recommend having a photo on LinkedIn. If you're not comfortable with that being shown to everyone, then of course don't put one on there. But if you do, make sure that you try to look as professional as possible. You can totally take this photo on your phone, but just try to make it look professional by looking into the camera, wearing appropriate clothing, and make sure it's like a square of your head and like your neck, not like the guy down there in the right hand corner at the bottom. Avoid a selfie, avoid cropping yourself from a group photo, because no matter how well you crop it, you can still kind of tell. And try to have a plain background as well, and avoid incorporating any props. So try to make it basic. You can also put a cover photo on there if you'd like to, similar to Facebook, but you don't have to, that's optional. And then your LinkedIn headline. This is the short little blurb after your name. It's 120 characters, so it's even less than a tweet. So it's just a super brief summary. You could say if you're a student studying, medicine, you could be, say, aspiring doctor, or president of the tennis club or something like that, if you're involved in clubs. I would avoid saying something super general, like I'm unemployed and looking for work, or I'm a uni graduate seeking an entry-level position. It's just not very engaging. You want to showcase you and what value you bring. So try to make it succinct, but also showing a bit of your personality, your skills, your experience. But you can be creative with this. There's no right or wrong, but hopefully these tips help. Then underneath your bio, you've got an about summary section that you can fill out. Again, these sections are optional, but it's a great way to showcase your story, write about your experiences, what makes you you, why you followed the path you're following now. You can really get creative with this one as well, but it doesn't have to be super long, but you do have 500 words. So feel free to break it up into paragraphs, or some people even do dot points. That can be useful as well. You can add media files here. You can add your resume, your CV, and you can end with a call to action, like get in touch with me if you want to discuss my skills further, or if you want to discuss how to collaborate with me, something like that. I'll show you some examples later on. Oh, here. So this person tells a bit about where they're from, where they're at now, University of Oxford, what they're studying, what their interests are for career and research, and their thesis topic. And then they end with a call of action. I am interested in making relevant contacts. You can contact me directly. Obviously, don't do that. You can totally do this if you feel comfortable, but you don't have to. There's also LinkedIn Mail, which is like a direct message similar to Facebook and Instagram. People can message each other that way as well. You don't have to put a call to action here, but it's something to think about. This is mine. So it doesn't have to be this long, but I had a lot to say, and I tried to tell a story about myself. Because I'm not from Australia or Newcastle, I thought I would touch on that because it's something that makes you unique if you want to showcase that. It's really your chance to set yourself apart from others and display how you can add value to teams and different workplaces if you're trying to get a job. But yes, there's really no right or wrong here. I'm constantly thinking of ways to change mine, but it gives you a chance, a resume or a CV tells the black and white version of what you've done and who you are, but this is your chance to show the human side, and don't be afraid to show a bit of personality. Underneath the About summary, there's a section for featured posts. So if you make a post and you want to highlight it, sort of like an Instagram highlight, you can pin it to the top. So I've done that with a couple of mine. These are mine. You don't have to do this, but it's nice if you have some like big news you want to share, like you've celebrated your work anniversary, or you started a club at uni and you want to showcase that. Or if your club just had an awesome event and you want to showcase that, or you did a cool project at uni and you want to show people that as well. It's good to keep that important stuff at the top of your profile. If you are someone who makes posts, you don't have to post on LinkedIn in order to have a LinkedIn account and be active. But it is something to think about that can make you stand apart. Then moving on, underneath the featured posts, if you choose to have them, is your experience. So being in a club is totally relevant experience. It doesn't just have to be work experience. Clubs are a lot of work, and this is a really good chance for you to showcase what the skills and experiences that you built while being in a club. So you can use dot points. I find that to be the easiest way, and sometimes I just copy and paste it from my resume. And that's perfectly fine. You can even add little media files, and on LinkedIn, it's really easy. It prompts you, it tells you exactly what types of files you can upload. These can be like photos, PDFs, articles. It would be a really cool way to showcase what your club has been up to. I would recommend doing that, and it makes your profile more engaging. Here's what it looks like on LinkedIn. So PDF, PowerPoint, Word doc, JPEG, PNG, GIFs. There are a few like limits to how big you can go, but overall it takes like 2 seconds to add stuff, and it pays off a lot in how your profile looks. So I highly recommend doing that. Here's some media file examples and how they look on other people's profiles. These aren't mine, but these are like links that people have added, videos, PDFs, articles. You can get really creative with this if you want to. And as I said, it's really easy and it takes almost no time at all to add media files. Also, you can add your education in, and with education, you can add what clubs you were in and what role, if you had a leadership role in that club. That's really nice to highlight there with education. This is mine. It doesn't have to look like this, but you can add also, like, if you had any awards or other activities that weren't clubs in there, you can add your GPA. You don't have to. And yes, that's a very relevant section for everyone to do. If you only do a few sections, I would do education, experience, and your about summary, those three. And then below your education, we've got licenses and certifications. So you might not have any of these, and that's totally fine, but you might have mental health first aid, you might have ally training, you might have generation governance, especially with clubs. You might have like regular first aid. And then at the top, there are LinkedIn learning courses that you can add to your profile once you complete them, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I highly recommend LinkedIn Learning. It's free to sign up as a UON student or staff, and they have some amazing courses on there, all for free. They range from 20 minutes up to 20 plus hours. So there's all differing levels that you can get into. Even the short ones are really beneficial, like speaking confidently and effectively. That had some really great tips, and I think it was 30 minutes, and I got a lot out of it. But we'll talk about that in a sec. Underneath licenses and certifications on your profile, you will find skills and endorsements. So you can add skills manually up there in the right-hand corner. You can take a skills quiz. I haven't done that, but it's something that you can do if you're looking for a place to start. You can also be endorsed for skills by other people here. And if you add skills, it helps the LinkedIn algorithm match you with jobs that align to those skills, which is a good reason for you to fill these out if you've got time. And a lot of skills that you build in clubs would be excellent to add here: event planning, recruiting, marketing and social media, project management. All of those would be really relevant skills for clubs peeps to add down here. And you can add skills from LinkedIn Learning as well. Then after this, you can ask people for recommendations, which is sort of like a referee on your resume. This is of course totally optional. I added a few from my previous lecturers, previous supervisors at work, or uni staff members. It's customary to send someone a heads up before you're going to ask them for a recommendation, just as you would when you're asking someone to be listed as a referee on your resume. And some people say that it's customary for you to write someone a recommendation first before you ask for one. I would say that it depends on who you're asking. So for example, I have one from Mark Hoffman, who's our DVCA at the uni. I would not write him a recommendation before asking for one because I was a student at the time, so that would be strange. However, if I asked Kate was my supervisor at my old job, I asked her for a recommendation and then she wrote me one and then she asked me for one. So it can go both ways, but if you're going for a recommendation from someone a lot more experienced and higher than you, they probably don't need you to write a recommendation for them, but that's just something to think about. It's good places to ask for a recommendation would be, a fellow member of your club. If you were both on the executive of a club, you could write each other recommendations because you worked alongside them. And when you fill out a recommendation, you have to check a box for your relationship to the person. So you can't just write recommendations really for random people. You do have to have some sort of connection with them. But again, LinkedIn will give you the options and it's pretty easy. It doesn't take very long. Once you receive the recommendation back from whoever you asked to write one, then it asks you to review the recommendation. For example, if there's like a typo in it or something, you can request them to change that and then send it back to you before you post it onto your profile. So after recommendations, there's a few more things you can add to your profile if you choose. So these things are available on your profile at the top where it says add a section. So there you'll find the stuff that we did just talk about. So work experience, education, licenses and certifications. But you can also add down there accomplishments. So this can be honors or awards that you may have won as a student or as a club, publications or organizations you're part of, projects that you've done, and more. So I'm sure that you all have some awesome stuff to add down there. So this is not mine, this is someone else's, but I just wanted to show you that there's no limit to what you can add down here. Don't feel like you have to do this, but you can really think of a lot of things you could add down here, I'm sure. So this person put some projects that they did with their job and also I believe with uni, organizations that they're a part of, languages. If you speak a second language, definitely put that down there. That's going to really make you stand out. Honors and awards and test scores. So here I've just got some general tips. So when you're on LinkedIn, and you're looking at other people's profiles, on the default setting, LinkedIn is very transparent. So when I click on Jessica's profile, Jessica will know that I've looked at her profile because you can see who's looked at your profile. You can change this though. When you go into your settings, you can view it. You can view people's profiles anonymously if you choose to, and feel free to do that if you want. Although I would say that sometimes leaving the default setting on so that people can see you're viewing their profile can be helpful for networking sometimes. I've added people after they've looked at my profile before when I noticed that we had common interests or worked in the same industry before. So that can be something that is helpful and a reason to keep that on, but don't feel like you have to. Also, when you're interacting with content that shows up on your feed, this might, similar to Facebook or Instagram, this might show up on other people's feeds. So of course, a pro of that is you can get lots of engagement quickly from people that you're not connected with. But keep in mind, as on the flip side of that, that everything you do can potentially be seen by other people. So just remain professional at all times and don't say anything that you don't want everyone else to see. So here is a little screenshot of the visibility settings that I just spoke about. Here you can choose how people can see you viewing their profile. So I've selected that people can see my name and my headline, but you can also choose sort of a middle ground where it says student in the blank industry from the blank area, or you can just be totally anonymous. It's up to you. But I just wanted to highlight that you do have control over this, because I didn't know this actually until I started running this workshop, which is a fun fact. I just thought you had to let everyone know when you're looking at them, seeing what's up. So that's something that you can change if you want. And next we have LinkedIn Mail. So if you want to send people messages on LinkedIn, you totally can, but you usually have to be connected with them to send them an email. And I wouldn't really send people email that I'm not connected with unless it was to connect with them. Otherwise, a lot of people just ignore messages from people that they don't know. So for maximum effectiveness, I would first find the person I want to connect with. Let's say I went to a Zoom panel and someone spoke about a topic about, let's say, mental health, and I really got a lot out of their panel and I wanted to connect with them. So I would find them on LinkedIn and then click connect. And once you click connect, it will pop up with a box that says, do you want to leave a note? So it kind of encourages you to leave a note. And you can write in there like, hi, Nancy, I really enjoyed your mental health panel. Really enjoyed your mental health presentation during the blank blank panel. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And that's all you have to say. And then once they see that message, they can accept your connection, and it helps you connect with people a lot more effectively. Because sometimes if you just click connect, people will not look at it right away, or they might say no. So it's always best to put a little message. But in saying that, in your own in-mail box, if you see anything suspicious, like that looks too good to be true, or like a weird file or a weird link that you didn't ask for, don't click it. I'll tell you more about that later when we get to the security questions, but I got myself into a little pickle by doing that once, so I'll talk about that later. Oh, and also you might receive messages from recruiters in your email. As all of you are uni students, one day you'll be graduating and people may want to connect with you to talk to you about a job opportunity. So if it seems legit, obviously, definitely get in contact with the recruiter if they slide into your DMs, but just use your best judgment and don't do anything that looks too good to be true. Oh, okay, sorry, I'll back up a little bit. So here's more about making a connection. This info is from the Career Service. So they advise at the Career Service to make a request using the 5 Ps at the bottom. So make sure you're polite, it's pertinent, so you're adding someone for a reason that's relevant. You're not just adding random people all the time. Make it personalized, say their name. Keep it professional. You can show your personality, but don't say subdued, really sick, prezzo, I loved it, keen to connect, hit my line. Don't say that. Pretend you're talking to one of your lecturers or one of your dad's friends who's in banking or something. Pretend that you really want to make a good impression, because you do. And then offer them some praise at the end. Assuming that you're adding someone because you have some sort of connection to them, give them a little compliment. It never hurts, as long as it's genuine. But oops, going back to that, if you already know someone super well, you don't need to send a message with their requests. If you've met them before or they're a classmate of yours, you don't have to send them any text. You can just connect with them. That's what I think. But yes. So here's an example. We talked about this a bit before, but this uses the 5 Ps that the Career Service recommends. So impressed, so they're giving some praise. They said, hello, James, that's personalized. It's pertinent because this person attended their talk, and he puts a little reason why he wants to connect, or you're an aspiring entrepreneur. So that's a great example. And you can keep this same format for every single one that you send, because no one's going to know that you copy and pasted it every time. Just make sure you change the details. So a bit about your LinkedIn feed. Similar to Facebook or Instagram, it's not just made up of people you follow. You can also follow tons of different companies and organizations. So I know that a lot of people, which this is totally fair, think that LinkedIn is just a place to toot your own horn. And there are definitely people out there who do treat it like that. And that may seem like that's the only reason people have LinkedIn. But I want to urge you to explore LinkedIn a bit, because there are tons of companies and organizations and hashtags that you can follow. So your feed is not just all people being like, I got a promotion, or like, I did this at work, or I won this award. It can be so much more than that. So you can also follow hashtags, like Uni Newcastle is a great hashtag to keep up with what's happening in our community here. You can follow hashtags related to the topic that you study or the what your club is about. So if you're in the writers club, you can follow writing hashtags, or the dance club, dance hashtags. You can also follow prominent individuals in these are sort of like blue check mark people on Instagram or Twitter. So they are verified and they have a large audience. You can follow them instead of connecting with them so that you see their stuff, because once you're verified on LinkedIn, I guess they take away the connect button and they just replace it with a follow button. You can also join groups on LinkedIn. There's groups for everything. Like that's something that I haven't explored a whole lot, but I am in a few groups about the industry that I'm in. So like some marketing and social media groups, and these can be really good places to explore as a student because you get a lot of insight into practical real world things that are happening in the industry. And I think I mentioned this before, but LinkedIn also has an events function that you could use to do events. If your club is active on LinkedIn and your club members are active on LinkedIn, you could think of putting your events onto LinkedIn as well. So I wanted to talk a bit more about how to be active on LinkedIn. I've got an example here that is not something that I did on that I wanted to showcase, but it was something in the uni that I wanted to post about because one of my lecturers was featured in an article from the Australian Financial Review. So this is just another example that you don't have to have some sort of major accomplishment to post on LinkedIn. You can also post about something cool that you learned or an article that you got a lot out of, or you can share other people's success on LinkedIn and just give them a shout out and cheer them on. I don't want people to think that LinkedIn is super limiting to be active. You can also like other people's posts and comment on other people's posts, which keeps you active on there as well, because people can see you interacting, which can help you remain visible to other people on LinkedIn. Yes. So next, LinkedIn Learning. So this is free for all University of Newcastle students. When you click on LinkedIn Learning within the LinkedIn platform, I think it takes you to like the Uni Newcastle login where you put in your student email and your password, and then voila, you've got access to thousands of courses. As I mentioned before, I think they range anywhere from, a quick 10-minute video to 20 hours of content with little quizzes. They're all a bit different. And they're grouped into 3 categories of business, technology, and creative. So there's tons of courses on any topic you could imagine. And there's also tons of really good ones on well-being initiatives and like mental health stuff. So I would definitely check this out. Even if you have 10 minutes on the weekend, or you need a little confidence boost or a little mental health, like stress less check-in, there's little videos on there that are really helpful. And I would encourage you to check it out. The ones that are labeled as courses give you a certificate for the licenses and certifications section on your profile. So if that's something that you're wanting to build up, make sure you do LinkedIn Learning that is labeled as a course, and you'll see this on LinkedIn. It says how long the video is, and if it's a course or if it's just a video. So I'll show you. So here's a screenshot of LinkedIn Learning. You've got down here, I'll show you these ones that say course here, how to be both assertive and likable. That means you'll get a certificate. So if that's something that matters to you, just remember that. There's also ones that are like mixtape up here, or like or ones that just say video, which you don't get a certificate, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's still super helpful. There's also up here weekly goals. So you can set a goal for how much LinkedIn Learning you want to do per week. And I know that you're all students, and maybe the last thing you want to do is watch videos that have anything to do with learning. But I will say, if you're not a student and you want to access LinkedIn Learning, you have to get a LinkedIn Premium account, which costs like $60 a month. So that's just food for thought on LinkedIn Learning. It's super awesome if you have time. Then here is another little screenshot from LinkedIn Learning. You have up here in progress. So if you start one and you don't finish it, it saves it for you, which is super helpful. You can also save courses that you want to look at later. Like I said, they've got lots of great courses about de-stressing and getting your well-being in order, which is always really relevant, but especially now when we're all stuck at home. These might be good, if you're just taking a study break and you're feeling really deflated. There's also learning history, which is courses that you've done. My collections, I can't quite remember what that is, but so sorry about that. And then skills, that's skills that you want to learn and that you can save there. So next we've got LinkedIn job searching. So it's pretty similar to Seek. You can search by many different criteria: company, industry, position, city. And then, like we talked about before, if you filled out your profile a bit, some recommended jobs will pop up based on what you've put in there. So that's why I recommend filling it out as best you can. And once you click on a job, you can usually see how many people have already applied and how well your skills match up. So it'll say like 12 applicants and you have a 15 out of 20 skills match. So that's helpful. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply for it if you don't have every single skill though, which is something that I learned recently. Yes, here's a little screenshot of the jobs section. So these are recommended for me based on my skills. So when you fill out your skills, this will pop up for you as well. You can save jobs up here. You can set up job alerts for certain jobs if you want to. I believe you can search jobs by salary, but not every job will have that info in there. In my experience, you can do a skills assessment like we talked about before. They've even got interview prep and resume builder functions here. I haven't personally tried those out, but definitely something to take advantage of in addition to the UON Career Service, of course. You can also post a job. So back to my horror story of LinkedIn InMail. Make sure that your LinkedIn password is super strong. I made that mistake and I got hacked. The reason why I got hacked was, one, my password wasn't strong, and then two, I clicked on an InMail link that looked like it was from a recruiter, but it looked a little bit shady, but I was looking for a job at the time, so I clicked on one of the files. And then I lost control of my LinkedIn account and I couldn't log in because that person, whoever they were, got into my account, changed my password. I don't know how it works, but it was really bad. And then they started sending messages to all these people that I didn't know. And then I contacted LinkedIn and luckily they were super helpful and they helped me get my account back. And I was super devastated because I thought I was going to have to start over. But the moral of the story is ensure your password is really strong and then turn on two-factor authentication, which can be done by them sending you a code every time you want to log in from a new device, or you can do it through the two-factor authentication app. It sounds a little bit complicated, or at least it did to me, but it's really not. It's just a way to make sure that you're the one logging into your profile every time. And again, don't click on anything that looks a little bit sus, and don't accept connections from anyone that you feel you don't want to. It's totally your choice. I personally don't accept connections with people that I don't have a connection to, like if I don't know them, or if I don't have any mutual connections with them, or if they don't send an email saying why they want to connect with me, then it's a no. And you can totally just click no. And just like Facebook and Instagram, you can block people if you want to. And LinkedIn is really good about their customer service. So if you ever have an issue with your account, I highly recommend just reaching out to them, and they're really good about helping you. So these are a couple of questions. We're coming to the end now, so I hope that's okay with everyone. I didn't take too much of your time, but these are a few questions that I've gotten when I've run this workshop in the past. So I thought I'd go over it. How often should I be posting? It depends on how much time you have or how much you want to devote to LinkedIn. I say I like to post maybe once a month at the least, but don't feel like you have to. As we talked about before, you can be active on LinkedIn without posting anything about yourself. Just get on there, explore, like stuff, comment on people's stuff. You will probably learn something like I do. Do I have to create my own content to be active? No, you don't. You can share other people's content. I think as a rule of thumb, I like to, if I'm going to share an article, for example, I like to put what were my key takeaways from the article. Share something that you learned. Don't just post the link because it's not going to be as effective. How often do I need to check LinkedIn? It depends. If you're job searching, I'd probably be checking it every day. If you're studying and you're really busy, I don't know, maybe check it once every couple of weeks just to see what's going on. And like I said before, I used to scroll on social media a lot, which I know is really bad. But I've started switching to LinkedIn for my scroll, and I find it to be a lot more insightful, and I always learn something new. And you can also set up email alerts if you want to alert you when you get an email so that you don't have to check LinkedIn all the time. You can just get notified if someone sends you an email. So that's a nice feature that they have too. Here are my sources. I can send these out if anyone needs them, but for any additional questions, I urge you all to contact the career service. They exist to help you with everything careers related, and LinkedIn is included. Does anyone have any questions for me? I hope that wasn't too fast.
That was amazing. I'll just stop recording as some of the questions might be for people's personal LinkedIn. So I'll just hit that now.
Nice.